Welcome to another episode of Gluttons for Geekdom Live. This is the first episode of Mr. Classic's Combat Chronicles. I am Mr. Classic, and today we're going to be talking about the WWE Royal Rumble, and then the rest of the week while we're at it. But let's start with the Royal Rumble. Chris Jericho in a shark cage. We were talking about it last week. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens for the Universal Championship. And of course, Kevin Owens wins. I told you, I was quite happy about it. I can't stand Roman Reigns. I was so glad that he lost. But now, unfortunately, I thought he was going to face Braun Strowman since Braun Strowman, beat him up at the end of that match and made Kevin Owens win while Chris Jericho was stuck in the cage. But unfortunately, he was entered into the Royal Rumble match and eliminated The Undertaker. And now everyone's saying that he's going to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I have no interest in seeing this match. The Undertaker looked really bad at the Royal Rumble. He looked like he was in really bad shape. Rumors are saying that he needs a hip replacement, and I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but he wants to hold off until he retires. And quite frankly, if I'm being honest, I don't think he should be wrestling at this point. Then you put him against Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns isn't all that entertaining. So, double trouble. Hopefully, there'll be a different match at WrestleMania. There was rumors that maybe The Undertaker would face John Cena, which doesn't look like it's going to happen at this point. I was even okay with seeing Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but maybe that'll happen at the next pay-per-view, which I think for Raw is going to be Fastlane or whatever the heck it is. I know they have the Elimination Chamber coming up for SmackDown. There's a bunch of matches for that, but we'll get into that later. Also on the card, John Cena versus AJ Styles for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at the Royal Rumble. And I had my hopes and dreams shattered because John Cena won and has now become a 16-time champion. So he is now tied with Ric Flair as far as that goes. And now we have to mention him in the same breath as the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo! The wheeling, dealing, limousine riding, all that. Unfortunately, John Cena has to be mentioned in the same breath as that. He is the new champion, and he will defend the championship in the Elimination Chamber against AJ Styles, Bray Wyatt, Baron Corbin, Dean Ambrose, and The Miz. So hopefully one of those other 5 people will beat John Cena and we don't have to see him. Maybe he'll go back to doing reality TV. Maybe he'll go back to doing Nikki Bella and her fake breasts. No one knows and no one cares. Quite frankly, I just want John Cena to lose the title. Now, that brings us to the actual Royal Rumble match. This was what I was so excited about last week. I put macaroni and cheese in my belly because that is what I wanted to do before the Royal Rumble match. And unfortunately, it was kind of a letdown. The actual show itself, I was happy with the Royal Rumble itself, the pay-per-view, but the match had no surprise entrance. There was nobody that we weren't expecting to see that wasn't on the current roster, that hasn't been around for a while, and nothing. There was no surprise returns, there was no Finn Balor, no Shelton Benjamin, no MVP, no Kurt Angle, nobody. Just the regular come and go wrestlers. We had James Ellsworth in there, who, quite frankly, we didn't really need to see in the Royal Rumble. And then number 30, as I was saying earlier, we got Roman Reigns. Does anybody really care if Roman Reigns is in the Royal Rumble? He already had a title shot earlier in the night, which he lost. Why does he even get to be in the Royal Rumble match? Then we get to have him eliminate The Undertaker. And now, like I was saying, we're going to have to watch that match at WrestleMania. So Randy Orton ends up winning out of nowhere. He's been interacting with Bray Wyatt, and they're in the Wyatt family now, which apparently Luke Harper is no longer a part of. He's now totally anti-Bray Wyatt. They had a match on SmackDown a couple weeks ago between Luke Harper and Randy Orton, and when Randy Orton won, Bray Wyatt laid him out, Luke Harper, with the finishing move of his there. So he dropped him, and then you saw Luke Harper in the Royal Rumble. He tried to take out Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. He tried to hit him with the finishing move, Bray Wyatt's finishing move, which is Sister Abigail. He tried to take him out with that, and then Randy Orton actually won the match. So now it looks like, well, on paper right now, it's Randy Orton versus John Cena at WrestleMania, because Randy Orton's definitely in, and whoever wins the Elimination Chamber match is going to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion and will face Randy Orton at WrestleMania. So what I'm really hoping to see here is that Bray Wyatt defeats John Cena at the Elimination Chamber, and Bray Wyatt goes on to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and then it'll be a battle of these two guys. They fought all last year, and then they decided to join up, but now they'll face each other again. I could see a lot of animosity and a really good match between those two guys. And what ultimately I'm hoping is for Bray Wyatt to win the Elimination Chamber, become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and then beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and finally get himself a push. Because all this time, he's faced all of these great guys at WrestleMania, and he never wins. He always loses. He lost to Cena. He lost to Undertaker. He always looks really good coming into the match, but then he always loses in the end. So it's unfortunate. I'm really hoping that Bray Wyatt gets a push this year, and that's what I'm looking forward to as far as that goes. If anybody else was to win the Elimination Chamber, I wouldn't be that upset about it, even though I don't really care for Dean Ambrose. I'd be happy to see The Miz versus Randy Orton, or Baron Corbin versus Randy Orton. I just don't want to see John Cena versus Randy Orton. We've seen that match probably more than a dozen times in the careers of both of these people. It used to be really interesting because they were both the top guys, but now John Cena's gotten older, Randy Orton's gotten older. We've seen them fight so many times. There's nothing new they can bring to the table. I don't want to see that match. Certainly let us know what you're thinking on your side. Do you guys want to see John Cena versus Randy Orton? Or what do you want to see at WrestleMania as far as Randy Orton goes? Did you want to see him face Bray Wyatt or even somebody else? Now, other matches on the Royal Rumble. Charlotte beat Bayley for the Women's Championship, the Raw Women's Championship, not the SmackDown Women's Championship. I do think this is going to build to WrestleMania, where Bayley will eventually win the Women's Championship from Charlotte, and she will finally become, the first-time Raw Women's Champion and have a nice long run as a popular babyface character on Raw. So I'm looking forward to that. I was bored with the Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax. I don't see who that benefits. I know Nia Jax has to beat some legitimate competition in order to, build her character up, but Sasha Banks really doesn't need to lose anymore. I mean, her and Charlotte hot potatoed the title back and forth between each other for a while, and I'm not sure that this is the way to make her do something important. Supposedly she's supposed to have a big storyline going into WrestleMania, but I just don't know what they're doing with her. It seems a little shaky. I don't know if she's actually injured her knee or if that's part of the storyline. I'm just not all that interested in what's going on right now. So hopefully it'll do something a little bit better with her. Now, back to the actual Royal Rumble match. You did see Brock Lesnar. You saw The Undertaker. You saw Goldberg. Brock Lesnar did a number on several superstars before Goldberg came into the Royal Rumble and embarrassed him again. So for you who don't keep up on WWE, Goldberg beat Brock Lesnar in 1 minute and 26 seconds back at the Survivor Series and embarrassed him. This is unheard of for WWE times. UFC, it happens all the time. People lose in 30 seconds, a minute and a half all the time. But in WWE, it's scripted, so typically you don't see a match that ends in 90 seconds. Goldberg did it. I don't know if it's because of his age or if they were just trying to build some hype or what the story was. But Goldberg gets the win. He comes into the Royal Rumble. He embarrasses Brock Lesnar again. Then on Raw, you see Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman challenging Goldberg to a match at WrestleMania. I do think this will be Goldberg's last match. He had a nice little run here. He embarrassed a bunch of people. He eliminated a bunch of people from the Royal Rumble. What he really wanted to do was wrestle. Now that his son is around, he wanted his son to see him wrestling. So he did get to do that. He had a nice little run here, but I do think Brock Lesnar will end him at WrestleMania, and then we won't be seeing Goldberg anymore. Or at least that's my hope. Guys, let us know. How do you feel? Do you want Goldberg or Brock Lesnar to win at WrestleMania? Do you want to keep seeing Goldberg popping up, destroying people? Or are you done with Goldberg? He's from 1998. He hasn't done anything really relevant since 2000 or 2001. How do you guys feel about it? Let us know in the comments. Let us know below. So now we have Raw. I don't know if any of you watched NXT before the Royal Rumble, but you saw Seth Rollins show up. He's had an ongoing storyline with Triple H. Now, going back a couple of years, he's been part of the Authority and was on the same side as Stephanie and Triple H for a while. Now, when they did this brand split, they were saying that the Authority had dissolved, and, Stephanie is not such a bad person anymore, and she hired Mick Foley to help her on Raw, and then you had Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. Seth Rollins was injured for a while. He comes back. He has a match against Kevin Owens because Finn Balor gets injured, and actually it's Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Triple H interferes. He pedigrees Roman Reigns. He eliminates Roman Reigns from the match because Seth Rollins gets the pin, and then everybody thinks that Triple H is going to help Seth Rollins eliminate Kevin Owens, but then he turns face and he pedigrees Seth Rollins instead, and Kevin Owens becomes the new WWE Universal Champion. This is back at SummerSlam. So since then, we haven't seen Triple H appear on television. You've heard Seth Rollins talking about how he wants to get his hands on Triple H, how he feels Stephanie McMahon is involved somehow. And then you saw last week on Raw that he actually got eliminated from the Royal Rumble, or wasn't able to participate in the Royal Rumble because Sami Zayn beat him due to a distraction from Triple H's music, which Mick Foley obviously is inferring was caused by Stephanie McMahon, but there's no actual certainty to that storyline. So he shows up at NXT on Saturday, the night before the Royal Rumble, and calls out Triple H, tries to get him to come to the ring to fight him. Triple H sends out security instead. Eventually, the security is able to subdue Seth Rollins, and then when we get to the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, it's announced that he's banned from the building, so he's definitely not going to be in the Royal Rumble match, and pretty much you don't see him or hear from him at all. So finally, on Monday, we get him in the ring with Stephanie McMahon. They go back and forth. He's kind of snarky and sarcastic. He upsets her, and then she finally reveals that Triple H is coming to the arena to face off with him. Triple H comes out, calls out Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is on the way to the ring, and Samoa Joe, of all people, comes out and attacks Seth Rollins. Samoa Joe from NXT and formerly of TNA for many years. A lot of people will probably know who Samoa Joe is. He finally makes his Raw debut attacking Seth Rollins, and in reality, not in scripting, actually injures Seth Rollins, who just came back from a knee injury. Like I was saying, he was out for all this time. Now he has a torn MCL. When he was putting him in the coquina clutch, which is a sleeper hold with the legs wrapped around, when he pulled him onto the ground, he actually tore Seth Rollins' MCL. So now they're not sure that Seth Rollins is going to be able to participate in WrestleMania. He's supposed to be out 8 weeks, so it's cutting it really close to when he's supposed to come back. They have this whole big storyline they've invested in between Seth Rollins and Triple H, and they're not sure that they're going to be able to have that. So they actually had a meeting at WWE headquarters, and they actually are trying to figure out a plan B. So say Seth Rollins isn't able to come back, what they're going to do with Triple H and what they're going to do with the storyline in the interim. I was really excited to see Samoa Joe versus Seth Rollins, which I assumed was going to happen before WrestleMania, because they're both so good. I assume they could do such crazy stuff in the ring that it would be very entertaining, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to see that before WrestleMania. Hopefully they'll figure out something else to do with Samoa Joe, that he won't just disappear from the face of the earth and go back to NXT. So a lot of stuff going on this week in the WWE. Now apparently, Roman Reigns interfered in the match with Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens. You find out that there was some clip from a month ago where Braun Strowman was promised or suggested a title shot against Kevin Owens, which is why he interfered in the match at Royal Rumble. I just really thought he hated Roman Reigns. They had a segment a couple of weeks ago where Goldberg and Roman Reigns made him look bad. I thought that's what it tied into, but now they were saying he was promised a title shot, which all seemed really stupid and forced. But Kevin Owens ends up winning, or keeping the title, not necessarily winning, because Roman Reigns interferes, gets his revenge on Braun Strowman, and now he's still holding on to the WWE Universal Championship. So again, I'm happy. Braun Strowman chokeslammed Chris Jericho through the announce table right at the beginning, destroyed him. So there was no interference from Chris Jericho. I'm not really sure what's going to end up happening with that. There's a lot of rumors that Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho are going to face off at WrestleMania. He may lose the Universal Championship to Goldberg at Elimination Chamber, or one of the pay-per-views before that, Roadblock, Fastlane, whatever they're calling it this year. Raw and SmackDown have different pay-per-views now. It's rumored that he's going to lose to Goldberg, and then Goldberg will defend the championship against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and that Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho will face off for the United States Championship, since they don't need to have two titles for their match. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that, but I am intrigued. I do like Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens as a team. They do seem to have a lot of good chemistry together, but it'd probably be even better chemistry to fight each other, so it'd probably be a great match. They'll probably have a few matches, and then I'm sure Chris Jericho is going to go back to being a rock star in his band Fozzy and stop wrestling for a few months again. That's what he seems to do. He takes a few months off, then he comes back. He hadn't really done anything for a couple of years because he said he didn't want to come back unless he had a storyline or something important to do, and I guess he felt like Kevin Owens was important enough to come back for. So, drink it in, babe. So on the SmackDown side of things, like I was saying, we have that Elimination Chamber pay-per-view coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm assuming that, again, the Intercontinental Championship will not be defended because The Miz is inside the Elimination Chamber. I'm not really sure what they're doing with that. Dean Ambrose also inside the Elimination Chamber, so both of the people that would be competing for the Intercontinental Championship are in that match. Perhaps they'll have a match on SmackDown before that, or maybe they're just holding off until WrestleMania to have Dean Ambrose defend the title against The Miz, or maybe a group of people again. A lot of stuff going on this week in the WWE. Certainly give us your thoughts. Let us know what you're thinking. We did not see Finn Balor at the Royal Rumble, so I'm not sure what the plan is for that guy to come back. There's been a lot of rumors of him coming back soon. As you know, he won the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, got injured in the match, and then the next night, we had another match where Kevin Owens wins the championship, as I was detailing earlier. I would really like to see Finn Balor come back and have a really good match. It doesn't look like there's any room for him on the card right now, but maybe because Seth Rollins is out, they'll work him in. So again, like the card for WrestleMania looks like it would be Undertaker versus Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins versus Triple H, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Owens, and then whoever is going to face Randy Orton for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So it could be John Cena, it could be Bray Wyatt, or any of the other people in the Elimination Chamber. And then you also have Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg, which I hope will be the last time we see Goldberg, because I'm sick and tired of it. I think that's pretty much all the key points for this week in the WWE. This has been Rick's Combat Chronicles. If you have any suggestions or anything that you'd like us to touch on next time, certainly comment, reach out to us. You can reach us on Facebook, Gluttons for Geekdom, YouTube, Gluttons for Geekdom, Instagram, Gluttons for, the number 4, Geekdom, and then Twitter, Gluttonous Geeks. This is Rick Classic signing off for Gluttons for Geekdom Live. You guys have a great weekend and a great night.